An ethnographic focus will be able to deal with the relationship between artist and dancer, between dancer and material danced, between participants themselves. It is not about proving whether, for example, stability has developed, but about working through those human relationships to unearth ideas on, for example, a person's relation to artistic practice. If we only look at instrumental benefits such as balance, stability, posture or mobility, we will miss the question of value, the questions that concern people with Parkinson's. In fact, we may miss what may be more important to the participant dancer by only addressing instrumental benefit. Take the example of Carol. Carol attends the dance class, having had Parkinson's for 4 years. Sipping tea in Carol's flat, we began our first interview. Carol immediately exclaimed, "The dance class has really changed my life. I'm much more positive. It's something about the music, rhythm and ballet which makes you feel lovely. I haven't felt lovely in a long time. This disease is grotesque." Carol returned to the idea of feeling lovely at the end of the interview, stressing its importance for her. "I have a feeling these classes are going to be my lifeline. It's a combination of physical exercise, which is superb, but also for me it's a sense of being beautiful again. I feel so degraded by the disease. It's very, very important to me that my body is doing something pretty again. This disease is quixotic and dehumanizing. Ballet brings you back to childhood. I just love it. I really, really love it." I was struck by Carol's insistence on the feeling of being beautiful as the most important aspect of participating in the dance class. Her insistence invites us to query whether the right questions are being asked in evaluations of dance projects. Beauty is a term that has a history of dispute, of veneration, of repudiation. Difficult to define, difficult to measure, difficult to grasp, particularly when relating to someone's feelings. And yet, here is Carol, and she's not the only one talking about feeling lovely, who is so emphatic in her comments that feeling beautiful is the most important element of the dance class. Not only that, but her lifeline. As a researcher of people dancing, I have to respect her thoughts and feelings. It is not for me to judge whether she is actually feeling more beautiful now than she was. She is not an object, such as a vase, painting or rose, that requires my aesthetic judgment. What I need to do is examine why a claim to beauty has been offered in this instance, and to see her comments in context. Carol describes her symptoms as dehumanizing and disgusting. She is in a state of mourning for an identity she sees as fading. Her sense of what her body once could do and how it once looked is altering rapidly. Her sense of control over her actions and her body is disappearing. Then she dances. With music, movement flows, shredding some of the Parkinsonian hesitancy in direction and boundness that accompany everyday actions. Attention to flow, to qualities of movement, trajectories through space, allow me to document Carol's grasp not only of motor control, but of the dynamic palette of movement, of her body moving out of its habits, how her eyes light up, how she laughs when her partner touches her nose during an improvisation. Actually, there are a number of elements within this short description that I've just given that could be termed as instrumental benefits and which could be measured as such as the alteration in flow and trajectory of movement. But these measurements on their own will not give us Carol's strength of feeling, of how dancing with others becomes an important layer within the analysis, of why this matters to her. Feeling lovely is not so much a stylistic or mechanical issue here, but a fundamental point relating to identity and dignity. I questioned at the beginning of this talk whether there was an ethical dilemma in not contributing to finding a cure when researching people with an incurable disease, and in not proving anything. In examining themes that emerge from the dancing, such as beauty, and its attendant value freedom, which voiced by a number of other participants, it is possible to create a case for the worth of such research, and indeed of dance as a socially meaningful activity. The case lies in the exploration of the added value that dancing brings to people, the quality that it brings to people's lives, to people who are living with an as yet incurable disease. Feeling lovely seems on the face of it to be rather flippant, but in studying the context in which the comment was provoked, it becomes an important notion in helping articulate how dancing potentially helps people experience a different way of moving, feeling, or being. It enriches our understanding of the ways people engage with the arts and how art intersects with life. Studying such an experience potentially leads to a greater understanding of the wider benefits and meanings that can be gained from participation. Rats may not be able to join the dance, but we can, anchoring art making in social and personal meaning, as well as arguing for it as a scientifically useful area of study. Thank you.
Would like to ask Sarah a few questions. We can actually. So please take the mic.
Yes.
I remember one of the questions was.
Speak up really loud. Sorry. Scream it.
Is this audible?
Yes.
This is very loud.
Yeah.
Okay. When we were talking about how difficult it is to kind of measure the effects of dance because it is not purely a form of exercise, it also has a creative component. There's a collaborative aspect, there's all these different levels. From a scientific point of view, do you think, or rather, from an artist point of view, do you think there is a scientific way of splitting up these components and studying them individually that could somehow give at least an indication of the effects of the whole?
Yes, I'm sure there is. But it would need someone then to connect everything together so that you can see that it is together, rather than just saying this is one particular thing, which may not mean much to an artist, but would further the understanding of a particular activity. But it's the connection together which would really enhance understanding of art and art making.
And just to follow up, if you were to design a study, right, how would you kind of split up the various components of the dancing practice?
Well, I mean, let's take my own current study at the moment, which is split up. So on the one hand, we have the... Can you still all hear me? On the one hand, we have the qualitative work, looking at the social value of the dancing, the motivation to dance, and that's a long term, so over 4 years with people progressing in Parkinson's. Why do they still want to come? So social value, motivation, sense of their perceptions of ability and disability. And then things which emerge from the analysis, such as beauty and freedom. And then we also have physiological assessments, so looking at balance and stability from a neuromuscular level, and posture, which we use an electromagnetic tracking device to calibrate the measurements of any changes in posture. We also have, so that's that, and we also have a number of questionnaires as well. In the first phase of the project, it was looking likely from the triangulation of data that confidence was improved. It wasn't that they were doing new movement as such. They could do, we thought they may be able to do the movement anyway, but it was having the confidence to do it, which the dance gave them. So now we're testing that in a different way. So we've got an activity-specific balanced confidence questionnaire for people to look at, to see whether that unearths similar, the same, different ideas. And then we have a larger questionnaire, which was actually piloted with the Mark Morris Dance Company and in Denver with Cindy McRae, and she kindly said that I can use it too, which is specifically for people with Parkinson's dancing, but a general kind of quality of life questionnaire. So, and that will be matched onto the semi-structured interviews which take place on one-on-one over 4 years. So I'm interviewing people several times over the course of 4 years. And also I'm trying to keep diaries. It's quite difficult, but that's another layer. So I can see what's happening in their everyday lives as well. So that's how I'm splitting the actual research up. Yes?
So I understand that, like, when people with Parkinson's are dancing, their movement on the flow that they can't attain regularly, is there any carryover? Like, can they sort of imagine a task as a dance and gain a flow in regular life? Is there any evidence of that?
We haven't tested that as such. There is people say that they try and say, for example, if they freeze or they are going into a state of freezing, that they try to recall the music from the dance class in order to get out of that state. So there are various tools which are being used from the dancing, which are contributing to that.
It kind of segues into my question about how you differentiate between the benefits of music and then how that transcribes to the dance as well.
Sure. It's interesting because it's certainly the case that music seems to be extremely important, but on a variety of different levels, not just in terms of regulating stride or flow of movement, but also in the sense of enjoyment and getting that extra dimension of at English National Ballet they have live musicians, so it's a question of that relationship happening. But for me, it's what I'm seeing is definitely the dance event. Let's call it an event. It's a particular anthropological term, if you like, which encompasses the actual dancing, but also the coffee and biscuits afterwards, the socialising time, the music, the time where in the dance class where they're dancing together. They are clapping hands together, they're holding hands, things like that, which really raise it beyond just a potential situation where music is just the main generator of good movement, if you like.